welcome back to the show. I'm your host Kyle, and we're going to be looking at The Color Purple remake, or the musical bold new take on the classic novel and the classic Spielberg film based on that novel. Set in 1909, beginning in 1909 in rural Georgia, a young African American girl named Celie is giving birth to her second child. Her newborn baby is, like her first, a product of incest and unceremoniously ripped from her arms and disposed of by her abusive rapist father, Alfonso, played by Deon Cole. Celie's one respite from this miserable existence is the close bond with Nettie, played by Halle Bailey, not Halle Berry, her younger sister. Now, when the widowed Mister Coleman Domingo wishes to marry Nettie, Alfonso's predatory interests lead him to refuse and to stale off his other daughter, Celie, instead. She is forced to cook and clean for Mister, let him do his business with her, and to raise his children. Fleeing home and seeking shelter, Nettie comes to stay with Celie, yet is cast out by Mister for refusing his advances. Now, Nettie makes a promise to her sister to write her every day, but seemingly this promise is not kept, and Celie is forced to go on alone. Years later, a grown Celie, played now by Fantasia Barrino, has become used to the frequent physical, emotional, and sexual abuse from Mister. As a passive observer, she witnesses decades of bustling life on the farm. She meets the fierce Sophia, played here by Danielle Brooks, befriends a beautiful independent jazz singer named Sugar Avery, played by Taraji P. Henson, and discovers truths about herself. Now, throughout all the darkness, Celie maintains vigilant, never giving in and laying down, holding on to hope that someday she will prevail and understand the mysterious ways in which God Almighty works. Now, in 1982, when Alice Walker wrote her novel, The Color Purple, it became an immediate success, topping bestsellers lists, and it also won Alice Walker the Pulitzer Prize for fiction, making her the first ever African American woman to achieve such an award. The novel was soon adapted by Steven Spielberg into an equally acclaimed film starring Whoopi Goldberg and Oprah Winfrey in their feature film debuts. Now, some years later, Oprah presented a Broadway musical adaptation, which over the years has gone on to win multiple awards of its own. It's also had multiple different showings, multiple outings. It had a revival. I believe that the initial version of the Broadway show wasn't quite as popular as the revival, but now continuing Alice Walker's legacy, director Blitz Bazawu brings the musical version of the story to the big screen for new audiences to enjoy. Now, The Color Purple always provided issues in adaptation. Now, Steven Spielberg's film, while it was loved, was also critiqued for his handling of the tale's subject matter. Now, it was his first attempt to my knowledge, it was his first attempt at a heavy drama, something that wasn't more in line with like an action film or what he was more known for at the time. And so the tonal whiplash of some of the film's more whimsical scenes raised eyebrows. Um, Kind of, there would be really heavy dark moments, but it would be there would also be kind of wacky comedic sequences in it as well. Some people would looked at this as an idea, the idea behind this being that maybe it wasn't right for a white man to direct a story such as this. but I mean, I don't really believe that myself. Personally, I felt that the handling of the how Spielberg handled the original story, the story with the comedy moments and all that. Personally, I felt that that led credence to Ceely's innocence as a character, because the way we saw it, she was mostly viewing the world through the eyes of a child, and um, this being able to see the movie through her eyes and being able to see her as that, as this kind of like immature character that's being put into this situation, it brought more of an impact to her eventual emancipation. Not to mention, it added a lot of levity to a deeply depressing movie with a really heavy story, which, after all, is supposed to be about hope. In contrast, Bazawil's version can be a very bleak experience. It maintains the darkness and very much the same exact plot points, although they are watered down somewhat, but with less comedic moments peppered throughout. And this unrelenting harshness of the film is offset by the musical aspect of the adaptation, where we are shown the characters' internal struggles or growth through choreographed dance and song sequences. Now, on that end, the choreography provided by Fatima Robinson is the standout for me. Combined with the incredible costume design by Francine Jameson Tanchuk and production design by Oscar winner Paul D. Austerberry, the film comes alive in routines which call back to its Broadway roots. Several musical numbers take place more in fantastical, imagined locations within Ceely's mind, and these stand out much more than just those which are set within the actual world itself, where the characters are just dancing and moving in the streets. When you are shown more of a fantasy world that she is imagining, I think those scenes stand out. There's plot-related songs throughout, which are sung by the talented cast. Barino's magnificent voice carries the triumphant song "I'm Here." As jazz singer Shug Avery, uh, Henson performs wonderfully throughout the movie, including a revival of the song Miss Ceely's Blues, or Sister, um, which was heard in the Spielberg original, I believe. Lionel Richie and Quincy Jones had a hand in writing that song for the original movie. But as far as for my money, the most memorable song added to this version would be from Brooks, who performs Sophia's defiant "Hell No," which is a song which kind of summarizes her code of self-respect and fighting back in the face of domestic violence. Uh, Unflattering comparisons will inevitably be made to Spielberg's classic, but unfortunately, there's just many ways that this version doesn't quite measure up. With it has a shorter runtime. This movie goes for 141 minutes compared to Spielberg's 153, and not to mention that much of that time is in this version is dedicated to the musical interludes. So there just isn't enough time to fully flesh out these characters or their 40-year saga. I mean, to be honest, I thought that that was an issue with Spielberg's version as well. That some it did feel like we were flying through certain events because uh, certain character arcs just seemed to happen really quickly because there was just so much going on in the film, so many different characters, so many different stories. In this case, it's even worse because they're trying to tell the exact same story, but they have even less time to do it with, and yeah, so it is kind of an issue. But I mean, don't get me wrong, the actors do a fine job with what they're given to work with. But for example, in the case of Celie, I just never got the sense here that she was this beaten down, meek girl uh, because of this, her growth into a liberated and confident woman doesn't feel like as much of an inspirational change as it should. I mean, in the original, well, in the story, her growth from being this abused little girl into this strong woman who's actually able to fight back is supposed to be so inspiring that it even inspires the character of Sophia to come out of her funk that she finds herself in the story. And it that still happens here, but it just, like I said, it doesn't feel like it's that much of an arc, because we never really see her as this really beaten down character. She just seems like she has so much more confidence from the beginning. And call me crazy, but all of the upbeat singing and dancing may have had something to do with this. Our Blitz Bazaril's The Color Purple can be a high energy, spectacular experience, and it features catchy songs, beautiful costume and set design, and a heartfelt message of perseverance and redemption and love and faith. And all this, it's entertaining in quite many ways, but some musical reinterpretations can stand on their own, such as the 2005's The Producers, and some of them can even overshadow the original movie, such as 1984's The Little Shop of Horrors. But honestly, Basil's the Color Purple does neither. But it still remains a charming companion piece alongside Spielberg's film, or more importantly, alongside Alice Walker's timeless masterpiece, her novel. So for this film, it's a tricky one to rate. I'm going to give this 3.5 out of 5, mainly because of how well choreographed I think that the dance numbers were, the production design and costume design. I think they really carry the film. Story wise, I've seen the story done better. um, yeah, I think it just does feel a lot like the film it really does kind of need more time that was not it wasn't allowed the time to breathe that a story of this magnitude really requires. Yeah, so that's it. Three and a half from me. And yeah, I guess if you're a fan of the original Spielberg classic, you're a fan of the novel, check it out, give it a shot, and see what you think of it.